We are on day one of the Women in STEM Leadership Summit here in Westin Buckhead. It's been a wonderful day learning about resilience, mentorship versus sponsorship, how to get out of your comfort zone. So tonight's day one. We're going to vlog a little bit, show you all what we got going here, and I can't wait for day two tomorrow. See you then. I've been in the aeronautics and defense industry for about 6.5 years. But today I'm here with All Things STEM with Ashley, a company I started in January to focus on minorities in STEM and women in their career success, tips for success, mentorship, and professional development. So I'm super excited to be here with you all today.
Hi everyone, I also met some of you earlier today. My name is Sophia Berger. I work at WSP. For those of you who don't know WSP, we're an architecture, engineering, science-based consulting company that does all things around the built environment. So think of your major infrastructure, your resiliency, big kind of public-facing projects like that. I've been in the industry about 25 years. I've been at WSP 13 years. I've been in various parts of WSP, but currently the role I have is leading the environmental business here in the U.S.
Hi, I'm Ashley Ernest. I am with Paul Aerospace, part of Rainer Corporation. I have been there 17 years with many roles, and I'm currently in the global sales operational lead. So I have all the inside sales team for America, EMEA. We also have APAC facilities. When you think aerospace filtration, really what we're doing is things that a lot of people in the room are familiar with. When you're on the plane and you turn on your little air and then all that's coming through, it's running through a HEPA filters. As like the landing gear comes down, we filter like the high pressure fluid to make sure there's no fog in the lines. So thank you.
Yeah. So I have a few questions that we're going to ask, and then we'll open it up. But I wanted to ask for the panel, what is a good example of how your comfort zone has been challenged? So what was it, and did you accept it? Did you challenge it? Did you ignore it? What did you do, and how did you come out on the other side of it?
So that's a wonderful question. So at my company, I was in a program called the Engineering Leadership Development Program. And upon finishing that program, you get to pick anywhere in our company that you would like to work. I had always been in the Marietta location since I had graduated, so 2019 all the way through 2023. And I didn't see as many opportunities that I wanted at my specific location, so I started branching out to other locations, but still hoping that a job would open up in Marietta before I needed to have my new job in tow. And so I actually got the offer in Texas, and I was like, oh my goodness, is this real? Like, what am I gonna do? All I know is Marietta. I knew everybody. I knew everybody from security to HR to wherever I needed, I could get something. And so moving to a whole new place where I know nobody, all my family's in Atlanta and Nashville, I was super overwhelmed. I was like, can I do this? Am I gonna make it? Like, I've built such a great life here. Am I gonna be able to do the same thing when I move to Fort Worth? And so I took that move, and it stretched me in ways that I never knew that I could attain, and I learn new skills that I never thought I would learn. And that's actually how I started my own business and got to do a lot of passion projects that I had been putting on hold. I had that time. I had a new environment. I got to learn new skills that took me further than I ever thought I'd go. So for me, that was something that was a challenge for me. I overcame it. I just did it. I just trusted my support system, used the knowledge that I had learned in previous situations, and I took it to help others and also to help myself navigate this new thing in this new place where I knew nothing and no one. And it just turned out to help me grow more than I ever thought I would. So that's something for me that was a challenge that I overcome.
That is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And now, yes, thank you. And now I'm back here in Atlanta where I love and getting to come back here. This is my second time here, so I'm just super excited to be here and meet all of you. So thank you.
Thanks.
So I actually feel like I've done this a lot during my career, is step into unknown situations, and so I'm excited to be on this panel today. It seemed like the most logical place to start would be, the most recent one, the one that I'm in, and how that was stepping out of my comfort zone. So, as I mentioned, I've been at the company 13 years. I've been in various parts of the company, but really the majority of it had been around the transportation space. That was the space that I definitely knew the best. I had the best network in, and I had the comfort of having been in that space a really long time. And about a little over a year ago, there was a change in leadership at the company. A new president came in and immediately reorganized. And he had been the leader of the environmental business beforehand. And so as he transitioned, his prior role leading the environmental business in the US became available. And he called me and told me that I should really consider taking this. And my initial reaction was, what are you talking about? Like, I have no experience in the environmental space. This is not, my comfort zone, right? I mean, this is not where I have depth of knowledge and experience. But in talking to him more, I realized that there were a lot of reasons why this made sense. For my own professional development, what I needed next in my career path was running a major part of the business. And this was a major part of the business. We have 4,000 environmental people nationwide. So it was the right step for me. But also, in talking to him more and then in consulting with others, which is a really important part of this when you're going out of your comfort zone, reaching out to your network and getting advice, what I realized is that even though I didn't have depth of knowledge in the environmental work, the characteristics that I would bring to the leadership role are a lot of what the organization needed at that time. There had been many acquisitions that had been made to bring together into this group. And although there had been a lot of progress made, there was still a lot of making it feel like one unified business, right? A lot of the right kind of leadership tone and, getting people fired up about being part of the company and unified around the mission. I mean, those kinds of leadership traits were not specific to understanding the environmental business. They were more around understanding our company and how this group fit into our company. And so, as I, talked to more people, I started to understand how maybe I could be really valuable in this role. And then I think, the final piece is that, right around that time, I was reading some article, and it was some CEO who had just been appointed to lead a company, and when they talked about his background, it had nothing to do with the company that he was in, right? I mean, he had gone from like aerospace to Nike or something like that. And it's just, you see so many examples of that all the time, of people moving into these senior leadership roles, and it's not necessarily that they've spent their whole career leading up to this and know it in and out. It's more that they're bringing the right kind of leadership skills. And so I said, why am I then limiting myself just because I haven't spent the last 25 years working specifically in environments? And so anyway, I took the role. I'm a year and a half in. I think it's going okay. I'm still here doing it. But no, I think that it is going well. But it was a big challenge. And then, accepting it was just the first part, right? Then actually doing it, getting to know the business, building credibility, building connections, like all those things have been really great and invaluable learning lessons for me.
It's always risky when you step into something, but there was a job that I interviewed for once, and there was a whole category of questions that really boiled down to, do you know how to play nice with the other boys and girls, right? And so your personality, your traits, the way you think about business, the way that you approach it, you can learn the topic, right? I've said this 100 times, but no one comes out of the womb doing this job. Like, we all had to learn it from somebody, right? So you can learn the job, but if you don't have the underpinnings, then it sort of doesn't count. So if you don't know how to relate to people and build relationships and all of that, then you can't. Doesn't matter how informed you are. People won't follow you, and they won't seek you out. So that doesn't make it any less scary, though.
No.
So.
So, like I said, I've been involved quite a long time. I actually started in manufacturing, held several operational roles, and decided I wanted to move up to the commercial team. And they had a job opening in customer service, and it was at a time they were really going through a big MRP system change, so it was really good to come on board and learn the system. And I wanted to start getting involved more strategically, so I moved into a demand planning role while also started taking night classes. It was a big push that to continue in advancing your career, you needed to have your degrees, and I had just my high school diploma at the time, so I started taking night classes to what I could afford. So 7 years down the line, I finished my bachelor's degree, and I was getting a lot of pressure to start taking that next step. I had outgrown my demand planning role working with OEMs, and it was really primarily around the commercial side. At the time, the only position that was open that would advance or take the next step was around direct government contracting inside sales role. So very different compared to the commercial side of the business. And it was very uncomfortable for me because that role at the time was high turnover. nobody lasted in that role. And I would see these people come in and just rotate out. And so the fear was, I'm going to step into this role, become a paper pusher and get lost in this big corporation and just be stuck or vanish or go somewhere else. And I had gotten some mentoring to say, you're strong enough that you can challenge back the status quo. So I decided I'm going to go for it, and I went after it. Really spent 6 months learning everything I could about the position. And then I really started challenging everything about the status quo, whether that was how we stored our contracts, how we negotiated on the pricing strategy, working with the government, how we flow down, domestic specialties or anything along those lines. And then I had said it turned out to really open a lot of opportunities. And I had a mentor say, did it turn out or did you make it? And it really makes me look at opportunities differently now, because you can step into roles that you think may not be great fits, but it's your vision of how you challenge the status quo and then turn it into something really great for you. And that really was a big pivotal moment. I had 2 promotions since then, now becoming global.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. When I thought about how I would answer this, I had thought a lot about it, and we're being acquired by another company, and I run the product organization for our company, and I'm used to being in the decision seat. Yeah, no more, right? So they're like, oh, thank you so much. We're going to get rid of all your products, and we're going to move you to ours. And it just, learning a new role where, how do I gently advocate for, we might want to think about it a little bit differently, or how about assuming this, but when someone's spending $20 billion to buy your company, rank has its privilege. And just, I'm out of my comfort zone because I'm used to being the boss. I'm used to being the one that's, well, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to move forward, to being, okay, well, how can we assimilate? I'm not entirely there yet. I'm still on that journey, but it's just an interesting time. So we'll see. Anyway, we got a year to worry about that. So part of when you move out of your comfort zone, to coin some training I went through, you have to move your goalposts, right? You have to all of a sudden sort of permission yourself to move, right? And that's how we get promoted, right? As we say, okay, this is my comfort zone, I need to move it. So 2-part question. Have you, what's an example of when you moved it, and have you ever moved it and it went too far and had to bring it back a smidge?
Okay. Moving it.
Well, I was going to laugh to say moving it, you started a whole corporation for yourself. That was a big shift in goalpost. I've moved it several times. Sometimes it's in directions where I think I really want to be, and it turns out it's not a great fit. And it wasn't because I didn't enjoy the people I worked with or the things that it was doing. I just didn't feel that it drove me or created a passion. I get excited about things that I still do today, and that's where I think where you find your zone. And it's okay to be uncomfortable, right? What is it? Get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's when you're doing something new. And if you just continue to raise your hand, you'd be surprised. You don't even realize that your goalpost has moved. It's just kind of naturally goes into that progression. As you're saying, oh, I can help with that. I'm not very familiar, but I have Excel expertise, or I can generate reports from the system that other people don't know how to extract the data. Maybe we can look at the problem a different way. And it just kind of naturally starts stretching you to where next thing you know, you're like, oh, I can apply for that job. I can easily step into that role. I don't have all the criteria, checked all the boxes, but I can do it.
Your question is super interesting. So the 2 parts I would say. One, for some people, having a really strictly laid out career path, what's your 1-year goal, 3-year goal, 5-year goals, 10-year goal, that works for them. And if that works for you, you should totally be doing that. But that is not the way I have thought about it. I usually advocate more for a general trajectory, right? So I know that I'm super passionate about the infrastructure space and that I want to keep growing in leadership in that space. But I've been really flexible around what that means, and it's been everywhere from construction on the ground to management consulting, but it's always been in that core area that I'm passionate about. And so, that's different for everyone, but in general, I feel like if you have a trajectory, then you get less hung up then around, is this exactly the right stepping stone, or is this kind of still moving me in the right direction? I'd say in terms of ones that I regretted, there's been none that I massively regret, but I would say that, maybe some of you have had this experience. I've had several jobs that were made up for me. And sometimes those work and sometimes they don't, sometimes especially like as you're progressing and the company might want to keep helping you progress, but there's not a natural opening, they say, okay, well, we'll make something up for you, or we'll do this. And sometimes that can be great. I loved your thing about the status quo challenging. Sometimes those made up roles really help to challenge the status quo and you can have a lot of voice. Sometimes you feel like a bolt-on to an existing org chart and there's not a clear mandate, and that's not so great. And so I've become more wary of made-up jobs. I will say though that, I'd love to say that every single job has been 100% fulfilling every step of the way. All of them have been good, but some have been more exciting than others. And honestly, that's a little bit okay too, right? I mean, one of those made-up roles I had that was good, it was useful, it just wasn't my most energized, happened like right after I had my first kid. And so, that was kind of helpful to be able to balance a little bit more as my whole life was adjusting to like what our family looked like now after my first kid, that it wasn't necessarily the most demanding role. I mean, it was still moving me in the right trajectory, it was still good, but once I got things stabilized in terms of my life, then I was able to be like, okay, how do we turn this into the next thing now? Like, I'm ready for this to be, more exciting. And so, you have to recognize that not all of it is always going to be 100% what you want every step of the way.
So with me, as Ashley said, I did move and started a whole new business, but when I first moved to Texas, I thought, I'm going to do exactly what I did in Atlanta and create the exact same life here. But as time passed, it was like, do I need to do that? Why do I want to do that? And so with me, like Ashley mentioned, I started my own platform because I was like, Ashley, this is the time for you to create your dream life. Now, when you do that, you can get very ambitious and say, I want this, 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 and this. So when I started my business, I was like, I want to host networking events every month. I want to eventually host a conference. I want to do a TED Talk. I had all these things I want to do, but I had to understand taking baby steps and benchmarking different things of what I can do. This is what you can do in Q1, setting things up by quarters, because I was like, just as ambitious as I am in my professional life, I want to be that ambitious in my personal life. So for me, I had to understand work-life balance, and like you said, understanding with goals and benchmarking. I can only do so much. I'm one person, there's only 24 hours in a day. So I had to understand, actually, you can do it, but make sure you pace yourself and get your resources and do your research to get there to that next step. So some things that I wanted to maybe have done by now, I have to understand it might be in Q2 of 2026, but keeping that same vision and that same focal point, but making sure I take my time to get there. So that's something I've had to change up with benchmarking.
Yeah, and listen, it's really important that we're constantly kind of looking in the mirror and looking back at our reflection and saying, is this the moment? Is it now, or do I need a little more? And I think one of the things that I really have found helpful is figuring out who are those advocates that I can help, that if I am going, okay, if I really want to get there, what am I missing? Like, who do I need to talk to, right? So when I first started at Frontier, timing's everything some days, it just really works out, and they were having the top 100 managers were coming together at the Mohican Sun up in Connecticut. I'm like, this is going to be a fun company. I'm like, we're going to a casino, right? But that happened to be where all the conference rooms were. And I looked around the room and I said, who are the two people I need to meet today? Who stands between success and failure for me? And I'm running a new product team and a lot of, expectations about growth and what we were going to do. And I decided I couldn't do two because I can never follow my own rules. So I picked three. So I picked the engineer, head of engineering, because he's going to build it. I picked the head of IT because he's going to create the systems that let people order it. And I picked the field ops guy who's going to install it. I said, I don't get those three standing with me, doesn't matter what I come up with. Like, it's a crash and burn. Like, I can't get there. And then if you ever watch the movie Little Women, because I'm about to date myself, right? Get your little dance card and you figure out who you're going to dance with. And I make my team every year put two people on your dance card who you're going to meet this year. That's going to help you succeed. and help you figure out where you're going. And so I find if I'm able to do that, then I'm able to move my comfort zone with it, because now all of a sudden it's more familiar. I understand it, and at least I have people, right? So I have people who I can go to, and people who they're about to throw me under the bus, which may happen every once in a while. At least they'll tell me in advance, right? I mean, it's okay, you gotta do what you gotta do, but at least I know in advance so I can be ready. So.
I can answer that too. When you're thinking about your dance card, it's okay if you don't know who it is you need to talk to. Ask. You would be surprised at just reaching out to people that you do know, how many connections they have and who they can put you in touch with.
100%.
I'm not strong in AI or automation, and I just kept raising my hand very recently. A project I'm working, I need help on automation. And next, I got connected to 6 great, fantastic people, and it's their expertise, and right off the bat was brainstorming. So if you even just have an idea of who, like an area that you need to speak to, you don't have to have that person. You can just reach out. People are friendly, right?
Yeah.
Always willing to help someone.
Particularly new technology, right? People want to share because they're usually really incredibly excited about it, which is why they're there. They're very leading edge. So that's a really great thing. Back to our friend the change, right? So change isn't always easy, as I mentioned this morning. Interested in strategies on how you cope with change. Like, is it do you something personal? Do you run? Do you cook? Like, what do you do that help you kind of breathe at the end of the day and help you maneuver as you're walking into something that might be otherwise stressful or uncertain? It doesn't have to even be. It may or may not be hard. You don't know yet, but it may be uncertain. And how do you cope? How do you manage?
Coping with uncertainty. So for me, I used to kind of run from things I wasn't proficient in. I talked about this, but I have 2 mentors in the room, Carmen and Kina, right now. I had an issue with even doing this. Like 5 years ago, I would stutter like a Billy. It would be like, I would forget everything I wanted to say. And so I used to run from things that I was uncomfortable with. But I think with change, you have to embrace the change. And instead of making it a crutch, you make it a developmental area and say, this is what I want to work on, this is what I need to do. And a lot of things change, will make you more multifaceted. Whatever it is, it's going to help spread your knowledge, your bandwidth, and things that you're able to do. So for coping with change with me, it's like, okay, this is like me getting 1% better each day, like Atomic Habits, or just think about like the outcome of it instead of dreading the change that you have to do, because even butterflies have to be in a cocoon to, become a butterfly. So just understand that change is going to make you into even a better person than you already are, or not even a better person, but make you more multifaceted. So just understanding that change, and you can have your story to help somebody else that may have that same issue that you're having. So that's kind of how I look at coping with change, and just think about the beautiful outcomes instead of the spotty journey.
Yeah, and so important. Maybe it's just 1%.
Yeah.
Like baby steps. We've heard about, right? Just little steps.
Just something.
And that's, at least for me. I'm like, okay, slow down.
Yeah.
Right. Didn't happen
Right.
in 2 minutes. It's not going to happen in 2 minutes. I say be patient and kind of trust the process.
That's what I'm trying to say. Trust
You
the
got it.
process.
Trust the process.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, there was, in one of the superpower ones, you saying, comfortable in uncertainty. I feel pretty comfortable in uncertainty. And so, change in and of itself doesn't stress me out. I'm good and kind of, okay, well, what are the micro decisions we need to make to keep things moving forward, and kind of trying to rally people around that. That I feel like is a strength of mine. I think sometimes the tricky piece with change is that you can get too hung up on, well, we always did it this way, or this is the way we've always done it. And there was a period of that, my company was acquired by another company, so we can talk about that. But there was a period during that where there was a lot of that happening. And someone said, this world is changing so much. You don't want to be the one who's always talking about how you used to, like stuck in the past. Like that doesn't make you a person that's seen as a leader looking forward, right? And that was really helpful feedback, because it was about having to change the framework, right? I mean, it's like, it wasn't that we had to do it the way it was in the past, it's that there were some important elements of the way we were doing it that we had learned over time, and how do we keep those and incorporate them into a new, more modern way of doing things, or just a way that you have to, because you're being acquired and things are changing and you just have to get on board. So, I mean, those are some of my thoughts on kind of approaching change. In terms of how to cope with it, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes at the end of the day, I just feel like my brain is exhausted. There's not like one more decision I can make by the end of the day. And so, for me personally, I really enjoy reading, especially fiction, like something that I can completely disconnect. For some people, podcasters, but I find that if I'm listening, I can still keep thinking about other things. Whereas if I'm reading, like I have to focus on the words, and it helps me just quiet everything else. So, early in the morning or late at night after the kids have gone to bed, like those are some moments I take for myself to just like calm my mind.
Love it. I was just on Barnes and Noble yesterday buying some books I still like.
Yep.
Paper. But if you've been around long enough, you're going to go to management training, right? Everybody goes to, whether you want to or not, you go to them. And we went to one. It happened to be on building high performance team. But the snippet that I want to share with you was the visual. And they said, when you're driving a car, look out the front window. It's way more interested than focusing on the rearview mirror, right? Because that mirror is this big. And you look out, and then you have this big thing in front of you, and I'm like, how true is that? Because we tried that 15 years ago, and it didn't work. I'm like, really? That's the hill. That's the one you're going to die on? We're going to not do that. And they're like, whoa. I'm like, let's try it again. Which is probably until 2 years ago we had dial-up data at our company. That's probably why. Someone might need it. I'm like, anyway. So. And for those of you who are Hallmark fans, we are almost ready to start the Christmas season. So I'm just saying, Hallmark movies, it's a great escape. It's formulaic, every movie's the same. You don't really have to listen to every word. It's all good, it's gonna all end well. Ashley, tell us about it.
My other half is real mad at Hallmark, because as soon as it starts snowing, he's like, they're just gonna kiss and it's the end. Because you already know how it ends. Like, change it. So I would say sometimes you just have to run through some of those scenarios that are like racing in your head, because when you internalize, you just keep building on it more and more and more, and it becomes this huge thing. And sometimes it's not as bad, but in our minds we're like almost conditioned to be cruel to ourselves about how we talk to each other or ourselves internally. And so having like a mentor or even a good friend, somebody who understands the business, or even someone totally different, run through those like negative thoughts sometimes. Like, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario? I lose my job tomorrow. Okay, well, what will you do? Are you gonna just like give up and not live in a hole? No. I do my resume. Okay, what will you do from that? I'll start doing dry runs on interviews. And sometimes just going through that to realize like, it's just another day, right? And this fear is just normal with change. And it doesn't mean that everything's gonna end. So I have had really good experience like running through that with mentors or just good friends that have been in similar situations. And then I de-stress. It's like, say, very similar. I don't want to make a decision. I will read like a fiction, and people will recommend books. I'm like, that's an office hour book, is what I say.
People always want to recommend business books. I'm like, you don't get it.
And I'm like, and I will read those. I'm like, but I was like, when I get home, I do read. Or for me, physical activity sometimes. Like we have a pool, and my husband, he just is a sitter. So he gets in the pool and sits, and then he watches me like zoom back and forth, like burning off all that nervous energy. But it's just kind of nice because we're hanging out together. I'm getting rid of like all those end of day jitters, and then just wind down. So finding something that you can enjoy, especially like to take away some of that extra stress is nice at the end of the day.
I thought one of the ladies this morning talking about her superpower with just calling someone and saying, "Can you say something nice to me today?"
Yeah.
Just something.
Talk positive.
That's why I have Alexa, by the way. Alexa, tell me something nice about me. And she's very nice, by the way. I mean, as good as the weather and everything else, she'll tell you nice things. So your comfort zone moves. What's like a really happy outcome that if your comfort zone has moved, can you think of an outcome where it was like even better than what you might have thought it was going to be?
I'll share a personal one actually. So I have always really had financial insecurities my entire life. And as I went into adulthood and started a career, it just became worse. And I really had to work through a lot of those things. So right before COVID, we had started taking courses of paying off our debt. And I'm really proud about that. We did like really hard work, 13 months. It was so boring. We were home all the time, but we paid off all the student loans. We paid off the cars early. All the credit card debt was gone. The furniture was paid for, and COVID came. And I was so stressed about it, thinking I'm in aerospace. Nobody was flying. We were going to lose our jobs. And right worst case scenario, and Brandon, my partner, said, well, what are they going to do? What are they going to take from us? And you think car. I'm like, oh, I paid for that, right? And so it was really nice because it reset that tone that I could start saving and just focusing to be there in the moment. And then I bought my first house 2 years ago. And so I was like, again, so scared, the financial insecurity of going in and putting all that money down. Like, I'll never have this much money again. You know, I'm redoing the patio and I still think I'll never have this much money again. But it was so far outside my comfort zone, and it was just really rewarding. And I don't regret making the decision of buying it. I regret the home do-it-yourself.
I mean, I feel like I've had so many great experiences that came from going out of the comfort zone. I mean, so, you know, my first job out of college, this was, you know, the early days of applying online, meaning that you sent a resume to a jobs at whatever.com, like there weren't actual postings, and I sent it, I knew I wanted to go into construction, I sent it off to like all the major construction companies, and all of a sudden I get this call saying, you know, we'd like to interview you for a project, can you fly out to Boston tomorrow, which I did. I flew out to Boston, I interviewed, they gave me a job by the time I flew back, and then by Saturday, I had moved to Puerto Rico for the project. So it was just, I mean, yeah. And then it ended up, I stayed at that company for 5 years. It was amazing. You know, it ended up being a role that was perfect for me. I was moving every 6 to 12 months. I was at a stage in my life where that was awesome. I had this incredible, I mean, when you talk about the importance of bosses, I think your first boss is actually so foundationally important. I had this amazing first boss who just really saw something in me and like encouraged me and you know, promoted me really quickly, and it was just all around a great experience. And you just, you know, I had to trust my gut, right? I mean, here was this offer, going to live in Puerto Rico didn't sound bad, and you know, it was a really big company, and I was like, I think this is just gonna lead into good directions, and it did. And so, I mean, you really do have to trust your gut on a lot of these things. Definitely consult, like I was saying, you know, I talk to people like, am I making mistakes? But like at the end, like, does it feel like it's gonna be good for you? I mean, that's the thing that you have to trust. And if it feels like it is, then, you know, go for it. And to your point, what's the worst thing gonna happen? Like, say I went and a month in, I was like, this was a tragic mistake. Okay, well then find a new job.
I can't be here.
Exactly.
Mine has nothing to do with work. Mine is listening to my mom push me to audition for Color Guard, and I know you all are probably like, this is so left field, Ashley. But I was homeschooled in middle school, and I was in the homeschool marching band. We did Color Guard. My mom's like, y'all doing it, I paid for it, you're going out there. So we did it, and so for my high school years, we moved to Forsyth County for the STEM Academy, where my parents enrolled me, and I tried out for their Color Guard. Well, basically, that whole situation led me to where I am now because I competed in Color Guard all of high school, and then I tried out for the $1 Million Band in college. And with BAMA, through Color Guard, I had experiences that I never thought I'd have because it was something that was very new to me. I got to perform the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and then I got to perform for the president. I got to perform national championships. And when I got to do Color Guard at Alabama, that's part of the reason I chose Alabama. They had a great Color Guard and a great engineering program. Color Guard, it was Color Guard engineering that led me in every single department that I'd ever been in. And so when I was at Alabama, we got to, you know, perform at parades, fly all over the world. My birthday's in December, so each bowl game I had a different birthday location. So I was like, hey, we're in a New Year's Six. But basically what I'm trying to say is my mom pushing me to perform actually is why I chose my college, which is how I found out about NASA, where I interned, which is how I found out about the company I'm at today, which led me to even be a STEM advocate and all these different STEM things and platforms, all from my mom pushing me for extracurricular activity. So that was something that was outside of my comfort zone. I had never touched a flag or rifle or a saber, but it all came together to get me introduced to, hey, this is the STEM Academy, but this school has Color Guard, you're doing both. And hey, Alabama has these two great programs, you're gonna do this. That's what got me into metallurgical engineering. That was my major. And so all that kind of trickled from kind of a side activity that was not my comfort zone, performing in front of stadiums, 100,000 people, and it kind of led me to where I am, even though it's so left field, but that was something that got me to where I never thought I'd be. I never thought I'd be at Macy's Day Parade. I was in a Muscle Milk commercial, an ESPN commercial. I was doing things I never thought, just for my mom pushing me and saying, you're gonna do it, and going out there and winging it. So yeah, that was a left field story, but that kind of mixed in with my STEM journey to where I am now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.